Even our plants outgrow their homes eventually. Let's talk about repotting. What's up, fellow plant enthusiasts? My name is Dylan Bain, and this is Bain's Botanicals. Today, we're going to be talking about repotting. This is one of those things that I've seen certain people get kind of hesitant about, like it makes them nervous to repot plants. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a good kind of bonding moment for you and your plant, like to kind of share that and to kind of just really get hands-on with your plants a little bit, because you don't get to do it that often. So this is a cardboard palm, which is not a palm. This is actually a cycad, which is a completely different group of plants that we will talk about at some point. The genus is Zamia. I actually just discovered this plant recently. I guess maybe it's been around the market for a while and I just never knew about it, but it's really cool how it kind of rustles like that. The leaves are pretty neat. Definitely a unique plant. The closest thing this would be a relative to would be the sago palm, which is also not a palm, because that is also a cycad. Anyway, so the first big question is, why do we repot? Well, we repot for a couple of reasons. One could just be that you bought a new plant and maybe you're just wanting to rehome it into a nicer pot. People have mixed opinions about this. Some people say you should just leave them alone until they're actually ready. But the thing I've noticed when I buy plants is they end up looking like this on the bottom, which is the second reason we repot plants, is because they're ready to be potted up. Like, they're root bound, the roots are coming out the bottom, they're just they're ready to be into a bigger home. So that's the case with this one. We're just going to go and repot this today just so I can kind of show you how I do it. Everybody has their own method, but this is just the way I do it. But the second big question first is, when should you repot? After that first initial time, it kind of varies plant to plant, but typically it's about 2 years on average. It's not always 2 years, but typically. Some plants grow really fast. I mean, pothos and philodendron, they grow pretty quickly just because they're vining. They can put out a lot of leaves, so their root systems get bigger quicker. But something like a cactus or a lot of your succulents, they just grow so slowly that I've got a barrel cactus right now that's been in the same pot since 2020, and I haven't potted it up. I mean, the plant's gotten bigger and it's doing just fine, but they just don't grow fast, which is also why when you see a cactus and it's big, they're more expensive because it takes them a long time to get like that. These, I don't really know a lot about yet. I don't know how fast this thing's gonna grow, but I know that it's ready because look at it. Look at all those beautiful roots right there. So it's ready. Usually when you're repotting, you only wanna go up one size, maybe an inch in diameter or 2 inches. Most pots come in like 2-inch increments. So you'll see like a 4-inch pot. I think this is a 4-inch pot right here. 4-inch, 6-inch, 8-inch, 10-inch. This particular pot is kind of an oddball brand, so I think it's either 4.5 or 5. But when we look at the kind of difference in diameter, we see that it's really not that much bigger, but it is still bigger. The reason you don't want to go up too big is because if I put this in a gigantic pot and it's got like too much extra space, when I water it, the soil's not going to dry out fast enough and you could have some root rot issues. So it's just good to give it space to grow, but not so much that it's going to suffer. So I'm just going to go ahead and gently, like, I kind of loosen it just in case it's kind of tight right here. And I should just be able to slowly lift this out. Don't worry if you break a couple of the bottom roots, because these are pretty compacted down here. You can cut them if you need to, but only if you need to, because when you're repotting something, see, I broke one right there. You want to be as gentle as you can with the roots, because the plant has to repair itself, and the more it has to repair roots, the more stress it's going to go through. So some people say that you should break up the root ball so that the roots can spread, but the thing is, plants are smart. Like, they can spread the roots on their own. They'll do just fine. You don't really want to risk damaging the roots. So I'm just going to leave these exactly like they are. And the other note about that is there are some plants that are really finicky about their roots, specifically Hoyas. Hoyas do not like their roots messed with. I think I did repot my Hoya, but I had it in a plastic pot that it came in for a long time just because I didn't want to mess with it. So we've got that out of the pot, and I've just got my little tub of soil here. This is just Miracle-Gro potting soil. They're not sponsoring me or anything, but it's just Miracle-Gro, and I put a little extra perlite in it for drainage. Sometimes I do like an orchid bark, just a little bit of extra orchid bark. I'm just going to put a handful in the bottom here. As you can see, I just did a little handful, and this is where you kind of have to measure. This is too tall. See how the root ball is still sticking out? So I put just a little bit too much in there. Let me just fish some of it out. Repotting is messy, but I don't know. It's satisfying somehow to make a mess. That is still too much. Maybe I should have gone up a pot. I think this is fine though. All right. Okay. That is more about where I want it. See, like, you only want, I try to measure like maybe my fingertip between the edge of the pot and like the level of soil. So when you water, the water's not like spilling out over the pot. One thing I've noticed too is when you get a new plant, sometimes the top of the soil is a little bit crunchy. Like, so I'm gonna break that just a little bit. Boy, I'm making a huge mess, but that's perfectly fine. Oh, yeah. Oh, well. So I'm going to try to get it center. You want to get it right in the middle so that the roots grow evenly and everything. And that's going to look about how I want it. And then all I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the edges. I'm just going to get some dirt in here. And I usually just take my finger and kind of make sure that the dirt is filling in those edges a little bit. I'm not pushing down super hard. You don't really want to compact those roots either. You still need to make sure that they have air to breathe. So just be gentle about it. I need a little bit more in there. Just try to get it nice and even here. It's pretty level. All right. Yeah, there's just something about getting your hands in soil and just kind of, I don't know, getting back to nature, right? I think we could all stand to get back to nature a little bit. I need just a little bit more. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this plant though, because I didn't even know these things existed, and they're so different from all the other houseplants that is really intriguing to me. I like things that are different. Okay, again, I'm gently patting. I'm not forcing it down really hard, just enough that I can get it nice and tight there. So if you look, I've got that little bit of space at the rim of my pot. It's looking nice. Actually, if we can just kind of hold it back here, I like that. I love the look of a terracotta pot and like a nice green plant like that. So, looks like I might have a new leaf coming up. Maybe that's a little brown one there that needs to come out. I mean, look at that interesting new growth. It's not a flower because these don't flower. This is millions of years before flowers existed. Yeah, that's just a new little frond, I guess we could call it. But yeah, that's repotting in a nutshell. When you get into bigger plants, like, I know you guys can't see it because it's in the corner. I've got a really big Strelitzia, orange bird of paradise, and it is in like a 14-inch or maybe a 12-inch terracotta pot. For one thing, the pot itself is super heavy, and the plant itself is not light either. So when you get into the bigger things like that, you might want to have some help, just so somebody maybe can hold the pot or hold the plant and kind of help maneuver it a little bit. I'm trying to think. we could get into this later, but there are also some plants that maybe you would want to hold off on repotting because you want to control the size. And a good example of this would be like Ficus literata, the fiddle leaf fig. Those can get so gigantic in your home that some people try to control the growth by not potting it up. And when you do that, one thing you can do annually is, instead of potting it up, you can scrape out maybe the top 2 or so inches of soil, and you can put fresh soil in there. That way it's getting like a refreshment of nutrients. Because the problem with a potted plant as opposed to nature is that eventually the plant uses up all the nutrients in here, even when you fertilize. So it's good just to kind of give your bigger plants that refresh by doing, they call it top dressing. But you really don't have to top dress your little plants because they outgrow them and you repot them. But yeah, top dressing is an option for bigger plants. I haven't had to do it myself yet. I'll have to show you guys that bird of paradise, but eventually it's got room to grow, and eventually I'll do something about it. But yeah, I think that's it for now. Trying to think if I missed anything about repotting. I don't think I did. I already did a video on pots. You guys know I like terracotta pots just because they kind of help wick the moisture away from the plant, so it's really hard to overwater with terracotta, and I think it helps with humidity. But there are definitely plants that would benefit from a plastic pot, like peace lilies, because they need so much kind of moisture retention, ferns for sure, maybe even like alocasia, anthurium. Same with ceramic pots. Ceramic pots are kind of like plastic pots in that they are sealed on the outside so moisture doesn't wick out of them. But yeah, there's a whole subgenre of pot collectors within the plant community that just love really neat pots. And I can totally respect that, but some of them are so expensive that I'm like, I could buy more plants with the money I'm spending on these pots, so that's what I end up doing. But yes, let me know if you guys have any questions about repotting. I can definitely do some more repotting in the future when I have the opportunity. Let me know what your experience is. If you have a different method of repotting, please feel free to share it. It's always nice to get different perspectives of things. That's why I love that you guys have been so interactive and vocal on here. I just shook the table, that's fine. But yeah, thank you for your support. Thank you for following me. Like and subscribe if you're enjoying this content. I'm going to get some more out to you guys. And until the next video, I'll just see you guys later. Thank you.